Perfect.
Hey, welcome to a moment with a real estate guy. Today we have a very special friend, and he's in the industry. It's Jeremy David Schachter from Fairway Independent Mortgage, right?
Yes, absolutely. Got the name correct. Thank you so much, Chris.
I try to get the names correct, man. It's one of those things. It's a struggle, right? But hey, ironically enough, in my career, like I can pronounce like names that you wouldn't think. Like back when there weren't very many Asians in our world looking for houses, and the first person I got, his name was Peter Nguyen, and I looked at that and I said, "Well, it's not Nguyen, it's Nguyen." So when I actually had called him back, he's like, "Wow, you got my name right. Nobody ever does." I'm like, "Well, thank you." So there you go.
People
And that's
appreciate that.
yeah,
Yes.
and that's been a moment with a real estate guy. Until next time, see ya. Kidding, I'm kidding. So, I had Jason Hainan on from Magnus Title last episode, so we kind of talked about title things and stuff like that. Let's kind of because part of this is like I just want to have a conversation with you as a human because everything's not just business, business, business. But let's talk about rates a little bit because I met you at Brokers Hub Realty. We have our fireside chats once a week, which is really cool for people that don't know Brokers Hub Realty. We're a small boutique, but we're actually number 2 in the state when it comes to transactions per agents because we're a bunch of badasses. Did you know that? You were there, right? Yeah, you
I
saw that.
was. I
Yeah.
was. Yeah, no, it's really cool information for sure.
Yeah. So let's get your take on, because everybody's like, what are the rates? What are the rates? And my response always is, look, they're never going to be 2 and 3% again because that was an anomaly. If you take Google machine and Google interest rates from 2000 to 225, you're going to see an average of what, 6.5%, 7%?
About that. And
Right.
that's where we're at right now. So yeah, I think people just got a little bit spoiled. I
They
mean,
did.
it was a crazy time around
It
COVID
was.
area.
Yeah.
It was suppressed by the government,
Hmm.
called quantitative easing. So basically, rates were suppressed lower than they should be for too long, in my
Right.
opinion.
Right.
I
Because it
mean,
was, how long was that? 3 years?
in the threes, almost 2 years.
Okay.
A pretty long time. And then it was chaos during COVID. People had to do multiple offers, waive away their rights. Give their firstborn. So
Yep.
it definitely was not fun for buyers. For sellers, it was great just because you can put a house on the market and you have 20 offers without even marketing it. But we're not in that time
Yeah.
anymore.
No, we're not.
Um,
We're not. Which is why I like the fact we're not in that kind of market because that was a difficult market to live in as a realtor. And then I had to kind of, you have to shift, right? And we've talked about it all the time. You got to shift and change with the market and adapt to it in order to survive.
Absolutely. And, like you said, it's not a normal market. I mean, a normal market, homes are usually on for like 45, 60, maybe 80 days. And, it's a great time for buyers right now because, some things are not moving. You can ask for seller concessions. We just released this thing with Fairway, which is pretty cool. You can, for only government loans, not conventional
Okay.
loans,
So
government
which is
loans,
which is which is FHA and VA, right?
FHA, VA, and then USDA, wherever you can
Okay,
get
yeah.
it.
And I forgot about USDA because there's not a lot of USDA going on in Arizona anymore.
There's not. Florence, believe it or not, has some areas of USDA, but Maricopa, the city, not the county, had
Right.
some years ago, but now
They
it's
did. I
all
sold a lot of houses in Maricopa and Queen Creek, Santan Valley when USDA was prevalent because it's USDA, correct me if I'm wrong, it's one of their guidelines is population.
population. It just has to be in a rural area. They literally have a map that you plug in 123 Palm Street, and will say yes, this can qualify for
Okay.
USDA or not. But what's great about USDA, but not many buyers can get it just because it's so rural, is that 0% down,
Right.
so you can do 100% financing and even
Right.
roll in the closing costs. But let's switch gears to a more common program, FHA, and then of course VA for veterans. You can get up to 6% credit of a seller credit. So 6% of whatever the purchase price is,
Okay.
you can use for credit, and you can actually use that credit to defer up to 3 payments in your mortgage. Almost like
That's a new program you guys just rolled out?
yeah, so it has to be paid by the seller, obviously. The
Right.
buyer can't pay for it. It's basically prepaying your mortgage, but the
Right.
seller can do that. It has to be paid by the seller, and it's almost like a car loan. When you bought a car, you're like,
Yeah.
oh, you can skip 2 payments.
Right.
Normally, you can skip 1 payment, but now you can skip up to 3 payments if you have enough credit. So you can
Interesting.
use that credit for like buying down the rate. You can use it for a temporary buy down, meaning like having an interest rate only set for a certain period of time. But
Okay.
sellers are given these large credits. I mean, we worked together on
Mhm.
several transactions. We got large credits and we used every single dime of it up.
We did. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Talking numbers kind of scares people away. So I want to visit that a little bit and so let's pretend I'm 5 years old. Okay.
Okay. Talk to
And
me
I'm
like a
buying,
5-year-old.
right.
I got it.
And I'm going to buy a $400,000 house.
Okay.
Okay. So what this program is essentially that $400,000 house, 6% times $400,000 is basically $24,000. So we could come in with a realtor and the realtor could ask the seller, hey, I need $24,000 in seller concessions. And for those that you understand, a seller concession is where the seller's taking part of their net proceeds and applying it back towards the buyer as a credit to close. So like Jeremy just mentioned, of that 24,000, they can take some of that and have monthly payments set up for the next 3 months.
Correct. Monthly payments. You can buy down the rate permanently. You
Okay.
can do a temporary buy down, meaning,
So
yeah.
rates. What does it say? Rates are 6.5 right now. And
Right.
I
Okay.
and I'm buying a $400,000 house. The seller's graciously giving $24,000 as a credit. How much of that $24,000 is going to be needed to buy the rate down from say 6.5 to 4.5?
You're going to need more than that.
Really? Well, that's why I asked.
Yeah. And I don't, so many lenders, including ourselves at Fairway, they have floor rates.
Okay.
So they only can go down so low.
Okay.
So what I would do instead of buying down the rate entirely to the lowest point possible is maybe use some of that to skip a mortgage payment or two and then maybe do it a temporary buy down, it's called.
Okay.
So,
So you're
yeah.
not really skipping a mortgage payment because it's still being paid, but you're just not paying it because the seller concessions are covering it.
Correct. So it's like
Correct.
this is a great opportunity. Say if someone has a lease and they don't want to have double payments.
Nice.
So if their lease maybe expires in September and then they don't want to have payments for 3 months, they can do that with a seller credit. So that's a good. It's only good for FHA or VA for veteran loans.
Okay.
But a lot of times when you have a seller talking to, if you're talking to a seller saying, "Hey, your house is not moving. Do you want to drop this 25,000?" It might be a better option to say, "Hey, let's give maximum 6% credit." It's still coming out of their pocket, but it's marketing to potential buyers saying you can skip repayments, you can buy down the rate. So there's definitely different marketing ideas. Like just like you mentioned, you have to have a mind shift, so to speak.
Mm. Yeah.
2020, you put a sign in the yard, you probably don't need a sign in the yard and it's sold.
Right.
Now you have to have creative financing, so to speak, and work with buyers out there that are really concerned with interest rates, even though they're really not that high. They're in the mid
No, they're not.
sixes.
Yeah.
It's all about like, fear of missing out. If you bought a house in 2020, I have a 3% rate. My
Right.
lender's quoting me 6. I feel like
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting ripped off.
Mm-hmm.
The rates are going to come down eventually,
Yeah,
more than
but not
likely.
to 3%.
Not at 3%. I mean, unless we have some crazy pandemic, which hopefully we don't have, or
We won't
some
have.
terrorist activity, God forbid, rates are not going to be that low.
Well, and
Maybe in
the
fours
other
and
thing,
fives.
yeah, well, yeah, but that's the thing that people don't, they tend to forget that like my first house I bought 24 years ago, my rate was 8.375 and I was happy, right?
Very happy. Yeah.
Now, granted, the house price was 116,000 for a 3 bedroom, 2 bath, 1,600 square foot house on like a, 9,000 square foot lot off almost school baseline. That's unheard of today. But but you still have the ability to get a house that's within affordability range just for the sheer fact that wages have increased since then in the last 25 years, your income and things like that. Even though inflation's gone up, so has paychecks, right? I mean, I don't remember what I was being paid from a minimum wage. It was like, $2. And now it's some what, $12 or something insane like that.
Yeah, it's tough because I think average American, or sorry, average Arizona household, maybe like 60 or 70,000 for two people. So we're definitely bringing a lot of employment to the state. Especially
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
with TSMC as well as some other innovative companies. So
Yep.
hopefully wages are going to increase more,
Mhm.
but You have to start somewhere, Chris, to buy
Right.
a house. And it might not be your perfect neighborhood with your perfect house,
It's your
but
first house. Your
it's your
first house
first
is not
home.
going to be on the lake waterfront with jet skis, unless you hit the lottery or unless you're, Tony Montana, a political refugee from Cuba, and you have cash, right? And you want to just finance it to launder the money. But
Right.
that's not everyday people,
It's
right?
not everyday people, and the biggest way to build wealth is through real estate. I mean,
Correct.
I remember when I bought my first house, I came out of college, I got my first job, I had student loans, I bought my first house in Central Phoenix. I think I paid 250 for the house. It
Right.
was like a ranch style home. And then I sold it, I don't know, maybe like 6 or 7 years later for double the price. I paid off all my
Nice.
student loans, had money for another down payment on a new home, and then
Right.
that's how everything rolled. But rents are not cheap. So if you're looking to rent in a decent area, you're paying, a couple grand a month for
Yep.
like a 2 bedroom, maybe 3 bedroom. This really depends. And all you're doing is giving money to a landlord. It's not going
Right.
into your pocket.
You're building
So
somebody else's wealth instead of building your own.
exactly. So what I've seen with a lot of past clients with different strategies is that you're considered sorry, you're considered a first-time home buyer for someone who doesn't has not owned a home for the last 3 years. So, you can buy a house and then sell it, and then 3 years later, you can be considered a first-time home buyer where you can do as little as 3% down on a conventional loan.
So are
So
there
and that
So bringing that up now,
Sure.
I've done this so long. I remember Ameridream, Nehemiah program, the USDA stuff. HUD used to have $500 down, $100 down. Home in Five was there. So I've done all those because pre-COVID, if I sold 50 houses a year, 40 of them typically were first-time home buyers because that was my niche. Because nobody wanted to work with a first-time home buyer because they weren't spending enough money. I've never cared what they spend. My job is to find you a home because everybody deserves to be a homeowner. So I'd have
100%.
people come to me, "Hey, I'm approved for, 300,000, but I only want to spend 2." I'm like, "Okay, let's find you a house." I don't care. I told this to Jason, I'm all about connection before commission. Commission's a byproduct of what we do as realtors.
100%.
But we're paid a commission, which everybody hates that term, but it's based on negotiation on all the work we do behind the scenes and as we're going out there and opening doors and educating the buyers from start to finish. It's not just a latchkey, business. When I'm opening a door, go in the house, Jeremy, and I stand there and wait for you to come out. Now, when COVID was here, that's what you had to do. I had to go to the houses, open it all up, and then go back and sit in my truck, and then the buyer would pull up and I'd get out of my truck. "Okay, hi, everything's open. Put the booties on, keep your mask on, grab the gloves, walk through the house, do your thing, and then come back out." And then we'd follow the leader to the next house. So the fact that people don't really think buyer's agents do anything has always been baffling to me because they work harder in my eyes than listing agents do. And I do both. So listing agents, there's a certain amount of work you have to do, but with buyers as well. But buyers you're taking around, buyers you're talking to on a daily basis, buyer you're opening doors, you're explaining, you're answering questions constantly. And I love that about first time home buyers because it allowed me to hone my craft because the more questions they asked, the more times I heard that question, the more times I had to answer the question. If I didn't know it, then I'd go find somebody who had the answer. But then it started building my knowledge base. So it became to a point to where there was no question I couldn't answer unless it was financing because I always defer to the lenders. Why? Because I'm not a finance guy. I'm the real estate guy. He's going to deal with the money. I'm going to deal with the houses. And that keeps that separation of church and state, if you will, and makes the transaction that much more smoother because that line's defined. And I do. I get those questions all the time. The last couple of deals we did, they asked me some finance questions. I'm like, "Nope, talk to Jeremy." "Well, why not?" "Well, I can answer it because I know enough about it to get myself in trouble." And I've learned people will listen to what I say more than what you say because I talk to them more frequently than you do. So all of a sudden, well, Chris said the rate was this and Chris was wrong. So what the hell, Jeremy?
And I always say that I would take 4 $250,000 buyers than $1 million buyer any day of the week.
You got quiet. You got quiet, Jeremy.
Sorry, can you hear me
There you go.
better?
There you
Okay,
go.
so I would say I always say that I would take 4 $250,000 buyers than $1 million buyer any day of the week.
Agree.
And the reason is that birds of a feather flock together. So you have friends that are looking in the same area of town, or they're in the
Yeah.
same employment, like they're building up their career. They're so appreciative of your knowledge and experience. It's building up your like web effect. Like you're touching more people than just one client that has $1 million property. But like you mentioned, it's an American dream. It's not just a cliche. Everyone wants to, or for the most part, would love to buy a home. Hopefully, you have credit, you have some money in the bank. It's
So
down payments.
I'm going to interrupt you. Let's talk
Sure.
about that. Let's talk about the steps to get approved to purchase a home. What do you
Sure.
need? Because I know the answer, but some people that may be tuning in this when it's airing may not know the answer. So let's talk about what you have to be qualified to purchase a home, regardless of what the purchase price ends up being. But just let's check the boxes. So number one, I know you got to have 2 years of continued employment, correct?
You can have continued employment. There's some, what's the word I'm looking for? Understandability
Reference.
about your 2 year history. So, say if you were in a community
Okay.
college,
Right.
and you were in community college going to nursing school, and then you were
Right.
in
I
nursing
know where this
school
is
for a
going.
year, and then you went into your
Degree.
regular job.
Right.
So your new job, you got a job offer letter, and then prior to that, you were in school. So all we would need is this transcript showing that, okay, I was in school for this career
Right.
that I'm starting. So
Right.
you don't really need to have 2 years at a job, even if. So let's scratch the education. So say if you were jumping from job to job, it's kind of a red flag, especially from industry to industry with job to job. If you had some job gaps, so like 6 months in between your last job to your new job, sometimes lenders want to see you on the job for a couple of months. It's called stability of income. I
So the 2 year thing isn't really a thing anymore?
It's not really a thing. We just need to know what you've done for the last 2 years.
Okay.
So if you even were like, say, if you were self-employed and then the business didn't work out, and you said, okay, you know what, I'm going to go back to the man or
Okay.
corporation and get a job. We would just verify that your tax returns show that
Okay.
you were self-employed, even if it was a loss. We don't care. We just want to see what you've done the last 2 years. So if you had a huge loss because unfortunately the business didn't work out, that's okay, because now you have a salary job, and then we'll use that salary or your hourly wage to qualify for a mortgage.
Gotcha. Okay. I did not know
And
that.
there's some yeah, and there's some leeway to that too. You know, lenders are not bad. They just want to make sure you pay back the mortgage.
Well, and that's a good thing to point out too to those that are watching. Every time you ask for something when you're in the pre-qualifying process or once you're approved and you're under contract, because I get my clients all the time. Oh my gosh, they want this again. Well, it's not the lender that wants it; it's the underwriters that want it. And every
Correct.
time a file is submitted, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, Jeremy, you start with the initial file, and you try to put a package together that's going to answer all the questions that underwriter is going to have. So you
Correct.
give the file to the underwriter, they go through, flip, 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 flip. All of a sudden, they stop because they have a question they can't find the answer to that you may not even thought would be a question because every underwriter is different. So then they bring the file back to you and say, I need answers to these questions. So then your underwriter will then hit the buyer up, say, hey, I need this, this, and this. So even though they may have already given that documentation, it's a different set of eyes and it's a different underwriter who may have a different opinion of the answer to the initial question. So just appease the underwriter and appease Jeremy by giving them what they're asking for, because then as soon as you do that, it goes back in line for review. And I can attest that he's very good, Jeremy, at getting the file wrapped up and the clear to close, 6, 7 days before we actually are scheduled to close escrow, which makes the closing process that much more smoother.
It does. I mean, honestly, lending is not that difficult. Unfortunately, we have jokers just like my industry and your industry that just don't see this as a career, or don't think 2, 3, 4 steps ahead. I have to
Right.
think 2, 3 start. That's how my
Yeah.
mind works. So, for instance, that's a great example. I want to tell you, like in real life situation. So, Chris, you're buying a house for me. I get
Well,
your, I get your two pay stubs. I get your W-2s, which are your summaries of what you made the last 2 years in employment. I get your bank statements. I don't really need your tax returns unless you're self-employed or maybe have commission. So one of like this is a good example. So I get everything, I put it together, make it all pretty and nice. I send it over to the underwriter. So the underwriter, all they're doing is validating what the application states. So if you say you make $5,000 a month on your application, your pay stub should show $5,000 a month. If you show you have 20 grand in Wells Fargo or, a credit union, that should show 20,000. So where it gets interesting, and this is what underwriters do, and that's their job, that's what they get paid for, is that they look through your deposits. So normally we show like 2 months bank statements. If the underwriter sees, see a transfer to Joe Schmo for $500 every month, they're gonna condition, it's called. They're not gonna decline the loan. They're gonna
Right.
condition it and say, "Why are you
Who's
paying
Joe?
Joe
Yeah.
Schmo
Yeah.
five hundred
Yeah.
dollars?"
Yeah. Who's Joe
Because what they
Schmo?
want to know is there any other debts that you owe out there that are not on your credit report? And it might
Interesting.
and then that might inhibit you from buying a house because yes, I'm a co-signer on an auto loan, or paying back my friend for this. Then they say, okay, well, we need to include that debt in your qualifications. So those are really the only things that maybe like jump out that maybe an underwriter would ask for. Or on your credit report they show where you've lived the last couple of years. They want to have an explanation of that. Maybe you inherited a property from your parents. There's no mortgage on it, but
Right.
guess what? You still have to pay
Taxes.
taxes and insurance. Hopefully, you have insurance on the house. So, as a buyer, I can see that you can get frustrated with this, but I always like to flip it back to the buyer saying, hey, if you're going to lend $500,000 to your friend, would
Yeah.
you want to make sure that they pay you back? And that's all they care about, is paying
Absolutely.
it back. So, for the most part, lending, it's pretty much clear cut. There's no like aha moments. There's no surprises at the end, even though you hear horror stories. You just need to do the due diligence ahead of time, getting all the documentation, actually looking at it before you send it to underwriter, and making sure that it's a good file, because it's emotional process buying a house.
Oh,
So
absolutely. Absolutely. And we as lenders and realtors, we ride that wave of emotions with them because we're the ones, I'm the one they call first. And so I have to like, whatever the situation is. And that's why I tell people when I work with them, there is no stupid question. I don't understand your mindset unless you tell me where your mindset's at because I can't read your mind. So if you're not conveying to me that you're frustrated with this topic or this process or how this is going, then I'm not going to be able to talk you off that ledge and get you back to where you need to have your eyes on the prize that we're ultimately benefiting your future because you're leaving from a house to, from an apartment or a rental into your very own property. So that's always important too, for sure.
100%. And, I always say there's no stupid question either.
Yep.
And when you hear the questions over and over and over again, that's a great, like, I do videos just like you do, talking about, you know, what title companies do, what's an earnest money deposit, what does principal and interest mean? All these
Right.
terms, like my biggest pet peeve is when people use acronyms in the and
Oh,
assume
like
that people know
PITI.
that. Yeah, like PITI, whatever, GFE,
Hmm.
till,
Hmm.
CD,
Hmm.
all these things that have to do with lending. It's like
Right.
I always say I'm pretending I'm talking to my mom, who's 80 years old, who does not understand
Or a
anything about
5-year-old
lending,
or a
right? Or a
5-year-old,
5-year-old,
you know.
and explaining it, just because you might look like you know what you're talking about,
Hmm.
but at the end of the day, does your client who you're working for understand what you're talking about?
Correct.
And if I explain it and I'm like, do you understand? And not because I want to insult them, but they're like, no, I don't understand. I'm like, okay, let me explain it in a different way, because everyone learns differently. Some people are more visual than other people. It Don't be scared to ask questions to your real estate agent as well as to your lender. And if you are scared, or if you're getting bad vibes, so to speak, you need to find a new real estate agent or a new lender, because I always
Not
joke
if you're
like,
working, not if you're working with us. What he
not
just
if you're
said
working with
does
us,
not
100%.
apply when it comes
But if
to
you're watching this and
Jeremy
you
and
have
I.
a real estate agent or a
Right.
lender that doesn't treat you the right way, I
Right.
always joke saying, you're not buying a shirt at Macy's here, you're buying a house.
Yeah.
So ask as many questions as you can. And honestly, I get nervous when people don't ask questions.
I
I'm
do
like, are
too.
you going?
I do. No, I do too. And when I send, so I do something unique when I first meet a client. Like I had one come to me yesterday from a referral. So we had about a 20-30 minute conversation and I explained all the pre-offer docs and what pre-offer docs is. It's the buyer advisory, which tells the buyer everything they ever wanted to know about buying a house in Arizona. It's a wire fraud document that tells you, hey, wire fraud is real. If anybody asks you for money, always come to me first before you disperse that. There's agency disclosure, which tells them I'm representing you as the buyer alone. I have no interest in the seller whatsoever. It has the buyer broker agreement, which tells them how I get paid, how I'm compensated for my time and my negotiation skills. We have the inspection document. Even though not everybody goes FHA, I still like to use that HUD home, the FHA HUD for your protection, getting in the home inspection, because it protects me and I'm conveying to them you have this right to do that. So those are like the pre-offer documents that I send. And the biggest reason why is the buyer advisory is 17 pages long. So I explain it all in the email. I tell them, read all these things, read through them. If you have questions, don't hesitate to ask, because it's better to have the questions answered now than, oh my gosh, we love this house, Chris, we want to make an offer. And then instead of just sending the purchase contract and, you know, the applicable addendums like HOA or pool disclosure or lead-based paint, then all of a sudden you have 60 pages you have to read to make an offer. 9 times out of 10, what happens, Jeremy? They don't read them.
No.
And then you get it back in 5 minutes, and I'm like, did you read this? Oh, I trust you. Okay, that's great. I appreciate that. But you still need to read the stuff, because if you don't read the stuff, you're not going to know the ins and outs of everything that I just sent you. And then later on, you may be pissed off because you realize, oh, I couldn't find that house. I'm in an agreement for 6 months with you. And how do I get out of that? Well, you don't, because you signed it, because I'm still going to do my job and send you houses, whether you want to look at them or not. I'm still doing my part. So read what you're sent and ask questions as you read it, because then you know more about the home buying process or more about the financing process, because you send disclosures out as well. And you know as well as I do, we hit send, and within 2 minutes that comes back. You didn't read it. You're not fooling anybody. So read before you sign your life away.
100%. I mean,
Yeah.
these are important things. Like, say
Mhm.
when you're buying a house in a HOA,
Right.
like, you want to know about the CCNRs. If the
Right.
CCNRs say that you can't have a dog over 50 pounds and you have a
Right.
100-pound dog, and
Right.
then you buy a place and never even thought about it, guess what? You can get violation, or they're going to have to ask you to get rid of
Right.
the dog. I mean,
The other thing unique too, there's some houses or neighborhoods, I should say, that don't have HOAs, but they have deed and restrictions that are associated with that community. My neighborhood alone, there's 5 different parts of Rancho Jardines, but there are deed restrictions, meaning if you live on an acre or less, you're only allowed to have 4 horses on your property. That's it. You're not allowed to have chickens, goats, cows, peacocks. You can't have swine at all unless they're pets that you're raising, potbelly pig type thing. A lot of people don't realize that. So when you move into a neighborhood where you think horse property, because I have an acre, I can have as many horses as I want. Well, you got to read the fine print, because there's a catch to that. You can't have 20 horses on an acre. You can have 4. You can't have 500 chickens. You can have none if you live in my neighborhood on an acre. Now, if you have anywhere from 1.1 acres to 5, then everything changes, because you have more room to play and the animals have more room to frolic. But that's one of those things that is interesting in the aspect that the only way you can call out that individual that may have 40 chickens and 3 cows and 2 goats and a peacock and a horse on an acre, you have to turn them in. And you have to turn them in by going to the city saying, hey, this person isn't abiding by our deed restrictions because they have all this and only supposed to have this. The irony of that is you take them to court, you win because the deed restriction is pretty clear. And then that individual has to pay all your legal fees. Whereas if you just didn't have those to begin with, you wouldn't be in trouble. So read everything, boys and girls, because it comes back to bite you if you don't.
100%.
Yeah.
These are really important things, and some of it might be legal mumbo jumbo that you don't understand because attorneys probably, developed
Yeah.
it and put it together.
Right.
Like, um, I'm trying to think of like an issue. Mostly, it's like, so I had a client once that was buying not a condo but a planned unit development. So
Okay.
basically, a townhome,
Yeah.
and he does massage work. So basically, he's a professional masseuse, and he goes to people's houses, and he also has people come to his house. They said that in the CCNRs that you can't run a business through your
The
house
home.
that you're
Yeah.
buying, because if you're having people coming and going all the time, and it's noisy,
Mm-hmm.
and he decided to cancel on the contract because if he bought the place, this would inhibit
Hmm.
him from running a business.
Gotcha.
It's really important to read through the CCNRs and understanding, that it's not just about dogs being, over a certain period,
Right.
over a certain weight, or how many cats you can have. It
Hmm.
can affect your business. It can
Sure.
affect, what you can and what you cannot do in the house, and you really want to make sure that you understand that way before you even like order an appraisal or close
Right.
on a loan.
Or do the
Unfortunately,
inspection. Right.
right?
And again, that's why when you have in Arizona, at least when you get under contract with the property, you have 10 calendar days to do your due diligence. And that's
Right.
something that maybe the realtor didn't think about, because why would he or she, understand the fact that, okay, you're a licensed massage therapist. When I hear that, I think, okay, you work somewhere outside of your home. You work a massage
Massage,
place
yeah,
like a med spa. Right. I would
sure.
never think, oh, you think maybe from time to time you'll have people come to your house, but if somebody legit wants to run their business out of their home, make sure that's not a stipulation that you have to abide by, because then you, like Jeremy said, then you're just stuck and you have to back out, or you're subject to lawsuits and all that kind of HOA violation nonsense, which is, HOAs are out of control. Do you see the guy in Goodyear that got fined because he's passing out water?
I saw that.
Right?
Yeah, it's getting ridiculous.
It is.
I mean, even like, so the massage therapist is one example, but I know a lot of people that are trainers. They work out in the gym and like, oh, I want to be a private trainer, so I have
Right.
clientele to come to my house and I have a
Yeah.
gym in my garage. You might not be able to run that business through the garage if you live in an HOA and they're restricting businesses. So, and anything from like Amway, like
I remember
anything that,
Amway. I remember Amway.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
or what's the one they have, the pink Cadillac? I forgot what that's
Mary
called.
Kay.
Mary
Mary Kay
Kay. So say you're
Cosmetics.
selling Mary Kay products out of your garage, and you're having like people consistently coming over, parking in people's front,
Right.
driveways. So you just have to check that. It's not every HOA. It's some majority of homes in Arizona do have HOAs depending on the year of the home, but it's always good to check, because once it's too late, it's unfortunately too late.
Yeah, it is too late. All right, so let's get off real estate now.
Sure.
You and Nicholas Yell, you've been friends for a very long time.
Sure.
And are you guys still working out at Orange Theory?
We are.
Yeah.
I went there today. Yes.
Right on.
Yeah. So it gets us motivated to do something as for yourself, as well
Yep.
as I really enjoy meeting people. It's energetic,
Well, and I've heard
and
stories about you,
accountability too.
Jeremy. I've heard stories about you at Orange Theory. You tend to meet people more than you work out, man.
I chat. I don't splat. That's what that. That's
See, I'm the guy when I was doing Orange Theory, I walked in that door game face, like it's, I'm gonna kick my ass for the next 60 minutes. So I wasn't about chatting and I don't want to be your best friend. I want to come in here and work my ass off because I'm paying that, when I left, by the time I was done, it was $200 a month.
great.
I didn't, and it's just, I talked before, I ended up lightening up a little bit, as I did it for so long that then you start having little random conversation, then you develop friendships over time. But legit, if they started 5 minutes late, I was irritated. If they wouldn't let me start where I wanted to start, I'd be like, that's bullshit. Like, come on, I'm paying you. I would give them
I
shit
need to
about the
be more
music.
focused for sure.
Huh? Totally
I need
focused.
to
Yeah. Hyper
need to be
focused.
more focused. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, I've been going there since they opened, and I think
Oh, the
my
one in
weight.
Phoenix?
One in Phoenix, yeah,
Yeah.
Central Phoenix,
Okay.
and I don't think I've lost as much weight as I want to, just because I do chat a lot, but
Well, and you drink a lot of wine. You drink a lot of wines.
not at Orange Theory, but usually the night
No,
before.
no, but you can't go burn 700 calories, then come home and have, a fast food cheeseburger, fries, and then that night have, a
A bottle of wine.
fettuccine Alfredo and a bottle of wine, man. It's counterproductive, Jeremy.
No,
You
it's
know,
all about intake and outtake. How
it's
much how
definitely
much you
about,
take.
and it's about the lifestyle, right? Because
Right,
we both have crazy occupations where you're running around ragging sometimes, right?
for
So
sure.
there was a point in time in my life where I'd leave the house in the morning and not take anything with me. So then it was fast food for breakfast, fast food for lunch, and then you just feel like shit and you're blah. Now I don't leave the house without an apple with water. I don't leave the house without lunch because I know whatever I'm doing, I'm not going to stop and eat shitty food that's going to make me feel crappy and just changes your mindset and your energy because it drains you when you eat bad. I don't know if it's an age thing or just like, hey, you feel better when you're eating fruit than you do when you're eating a Taco
chocolate.
Bell burrito. You know what I'm saying?
Percent. I mean, I try to get in the mindset where I like to go to bed early. I mean, some
Yeah.
people think I'm a little old
Well, okay.
ladies.
But what's early?
So I like to be in bed by 8:30. But I'm
That is
also
early.
but
That is
but
early.
maybe
Yeah.
like 8:45 I'm like sleeping, but I'm
Okay.
also up by 5 o'clock in the morning, like
Okay. Okay.
ready to go.
So what's a morning in the life of Jeremy David Schachter? You get up at 5 a.m. and do what?
Well, I love coffee, so I usually have coffee,
Okay.
talking to a
And that
lot of people and very successful people, mostly are morning
I don't
people.
care about successful people. I'm talking to Jeremy. Stop
Okay.
talking to me like you're trying to sell me. I want to know what you do. You get up at 5 a.m. every day and
I
do
go at
what?
5 a.m. every day. I drink my coffee.
Okay.
I try not to look at my phone as soon as I wake up because
Okay.
that's like mindset.
Yep.
Not that those emails are not important, but I like to be involved with what's going on in current affairs. So I check news, financial
Okay.
markets. I look at
Makes
that.
sense because
Um,
lender, you want to know the financial dealio for the day,
what's going on with the market, what's going on
right?
with interest rates, if there's anything that changed. And then I go and work out at Orange Theory and then have a protein shake when I get back home.
Good
And then
job.
yes, and lots of water
Good job.
because I've heard like drinking a lot of water right when you wake up is the best thing for your brain because your
Yeah.
brain like absorbs it. It's even better than drinking a lot of water throughout the day or night. I think in the morning that's when your brain thirsts for water.
Did you know it's best when you get up, you drink like I'll drink like 32 ounces of water and you don't actually have coffee until you've been awake for at least 30 minutes?
Oh, I need to try that.
Because then it allows the water to go through your system, right? Kind of gets everything lubricated, if you will,
Sure.
internally. And then half an hour into it, you have coffee. Now, one of the things that Nikki and I do, we'll get up at 5 and we'll go walk for an hour, right? So we turn the coffee maker on when we leave and then come back. By doing that, by walking an hour, it's waking everything up, obviously, but then you haven't eaten yet, you haven't really drank anything yet, so you're just kind of living on what you had the night before for dinner, but it helps kind of set your day as far as the physical aspect of it, the mindset, the clarity. Then you come back, you've had the water, you drink some more water, then have your coffee, and then you kind of get on with your routine. We learned that from, I had a guy on my other show, Chris and Mike's show. We have a lot of trainers and health guys on there, but that was one thing we learned with Peter Ho, the health and wellness guy, was drinking the water first thing. And then Nate, the fitness guy, was like hour walks. If you do an hour walk, you don't have to run, you don't have to, jog or anything. You just do a walk. If you walk for an hour a day, it has massive benefits and it's less damaging to your body than it is when you're running and jogging, which we all know I'm a runner. So that's a benefit that we've started incorporating because, like, hey, that's a good way to start the day, right? And
And
then,
like the light, the sunlight, there's something about
right,
light and waking you up as well
yeah.
as there's psychological benefits of like getting out, seeing nature,
Yeah.
putting away your phone,
Yes. We don't go for walks with our phone. Our phones stay at home.
so
Absolutely.
you actually talk to each other. That's
Right.
crazy.
Oh
You're not
yeah.
like
Yeah.
looking
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
this, like I'm
Yeah.
usually going to Orange Theory.
Yeah. Well, but see, that's the thing in Orange Theory too. Like whenever I went, you weren't allowed to have phones in the what do they call it? The studio. So many people, man, over the years of me going there would have their phone on the treadmill running and snap a picture. Like, stop, man. Like, and then they're
Checking the
on their
work
phones.
email,
Right.
get
And then the Apple Watch comes into play. So then they're rowing and they're like stopping, looking at their watch. It's like, just you have 50 minutes in here.
right.
50. Just
Do yourself a favor,
right.
and this is for you.
Yes.
Put the phone down, focus
Yes.
on what you're at, because we're always like, oh, we're gonna be more productive by checking my email, working out. And honestly, I was like that, not checking my email while I'm working out, but always having like three screens in front of me for computers. And then I'm like, I'm so productive. And I've read over and over again with a lot of smarter people than I am that your brain actually doesn't work like that. So you're thinking that you're more productive by checking your email, looking at five screens, multitasking when it really doesn't work. Your brain doesn't work. So you might think that you're more productive, but you truly aren't.
Yeah. Plus then your brain starts melting and your eyes start draining. I have to force myself because when I get, Nikki says I have ADHD because I'll come into my office to do one thing and all of a sudden 2 hours later, But like when I'm at the office at Brokers Hub, like I have to make myself get up at least 10 minutes every hour and walk around. Otherwise, I'll be sitting at my desk blogging or creating content or, responding to emails that are going in Brevity and, adding tasks and stuff to the past clients, current clients. And then all of a sudden 5 hours goes by. It's terrible.
Right. Yeah.
We were up at Munns Park and we did that. She was working on some stuff for school and I'm like, oh, this would be a great time to record content. So I did. And then all of a sudden, I think 4 hours Sunday afternoon, she was in what Bruce's office, Nick and Bruce's office. I was in the kitchen and dining room table with my Mac. And it's like, she came out, she's like, you're still doing this? I'm like, well, you're still doing that. But you don't know because you get so engaged in something. So you have to have that mindset, or you have to have a timer or something that says, hey, every hour on the hour, get up, walk around 10 minutes, give your mind a break, give your eyes a break, because that's the stagnant world we live in, which is terrible. So good job on doing the Orange Theory thing. Now, another thing I've learned about you lately, you bought a house over the pond.
I did. I did. So I love to go to Greece. I don't know the language yet, but
What do they speak in Greece?
Greek.
Okay, I don't know. That's why I
Oh
asked.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm like, is this a trick question? Yeah. So
No,
it's called.
I'm terrible with what people speak where, so that's why I asked. Like Canadians speak French, but they also speak American, right? And then so I didn't know if Greece was Spanish, like they spoke
Sure.
Spanish.
Yeah, it's a totally different language. It's
Okay.
honestly really hard. Like I know a little bit of Spanish and Italian,
Oh, right
somewhat
on.
alike. So it's a little bit similar, but Greek is
Okay.
like it's totally Greek to me, as
Are
the
you are
saying
you are
goes.
you learning it from an app like Duolingo?
I am.
Nice.
There's an app called Duolingo, and then I think
Yep.
one called Nemo,
Okay.
Nemo, which I like a lot too. Honestly, I was never planning to look to buy a house in Greece.
Okay. What kind of house did you buy?
It's like it's a small. They call them villas, even
Okay.
though villas in America.
What kind of villa do we have in Greece?
It's like a 2-story with a basement, and
Okay.
it's a newer construction home. But I think but a couple of years ago, 2023, both my parents passed away
Yes. Remember that.
back to back, April and
Yeah.
June,
Terrible. Yeah.
and they were married for 50 something years, and it kind of brought me to my knees. And then I'm turning 49 this year, and then
Congratulations.
right after 49 is 50.
This is true. Good math. See, lenders can count.
I can 1, 2, yeah. So I my mom passed away at 75 and my dad passed away at 79. In my mindset, I'm like, okay, I'm turning 50. I'm going to
Mhm.
round it up. I have
Yep.
probably 20, God willing, 20 good years left of my life. Because
Yep.
from 70 to 80, you really don't want to travel. You kind of crotchety, hopefully don't have any health problems. But for my thing is that my decision was, I don't know when my next or when my expiration is going to be. No one
Right.
does.
Because we're all terminally ill.
We're
Everybody. It's just a
right.
matter of time. Like we're
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 not
we
like
don't.
Benjamin Button where we're getting
Yeah.
younger as we
Yeah.
go. We're getting
Yeah.
older.
Yeah. You're all terminally ill. Everybody.
You see it like when you get out of the bed sometimes, like, oh, my back is hurting me, or even though you work out and you stay healthy, you're getting older. Everyone's getting older. So for me, it was like, why am I going to wait until 60 or 70 and maybe not really
Hmm.
enjoy it?
Yeah.
So I took a risk where I'm like, you know what? If it doesn't work out, I can hopefully sell it, or I can work in Greece, as a
Right.
lender. I
Yeah.
just had to work on the time frames of Arizona, which
Right.
it's not that difficult.
What's the time difference? Like right now in Greece, what time is it?
I have it on my phone because I don't know. So let me get it back to you. So it's 1:48 p.m. here. It's 11:48 p.m. there. So it's almost 12 o'clock in the morning.
Okay. Okay.
When I work in Greece, when I wake up in the morning, usually the day is already gone. And then by the time we're eating dinner in Greece, that's when everyone's starting to get up and everything's
Oh,
moving
in Arizona.
in Arizona.
Yeah, because I
So
remember I didn't know you were in Greece, and I had messaged you something. You're like, I'm getting ready to go to dinner. I'm like, dinner?
yeah, it's
Like,
like
like, where the
yeah,
hell are you? Well, I'm in Greece. I'm
yeah.
like, oh, okay.
I mean, with internet and
Oh
working,
yeah.
these days you work anywhere.
Yep.
So
You can.
I think a lot of I've always worked my whole life, Chris, just probably like similar to you, ever
Yeah.
since I was 14 years old.
Yep.
And for every vacation, and it's my fault. I always worked. I never had an out of office sign. I never said push this to someone else. I
Right.
always worked.
Yep.
Work and work and work, and I'm like, you know what? It's time for me to kind of enjoy life a
Enjoy
little bit.
life.
So we
Yeah.
kind of took a risk, and we were buying a house, and I don't know.
That's
I
awesome.
love Europe. I mean, it's different mindset than Arizona or America,
America.
where they like usually when you're at a dinner party in America, first thing they ask you is, "What do you do for a living?"
Mm.
That's the first thing. In Europe, they don't really care so much about what you do. It's like who you are as a person. Like, oh,
Right
what are
on.
your hobbies? Or it doesn't really bring into your profession as much as who you are as a person.
That's a cool concept, man. I think we should incorporate that on our American lives instead of because I've done that. You go somewhere you don't know people and you're gathered up. The first thing out of your mouth, like you said, what do you do? So what do you do?
It's like an icebreaker, and
Yeah, I think it'd be cool. Hey, what's your hobby?
right,
"Mm, what?
yeah,
What?
or
What do you
a
do for
vacation.
fun?" Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and besides that, like this, the healthiness, like less preservatives in food
Yeah. Oh,
and
I bet the food
food
there's
diets.
amazing compared to ours, right?
Yeah, just a Mediterranean diet. So it's a lot of olive oil, grilled
Okay.
chicken, vegetables, wine.
Okay.
That's
Right.
one of the major
Right.
food groups.
Wine.
But yeah, no, I'm excited about that. It's something that I've been planning for a while. So
Cool.
hopefully, fingers crossed, everything gets.
How big is the city that you're living in or town? What is it?
So it's close to a town called Corinth, which used to be the capital of Greece, and now the capital of Greece is Athens. So it's a pretty big
Okay.
city, and it's
Okay.
close to the sea. So it's about, I don't know, eighth of a mile away. So
Oh,
we can walk there.
do you have a boat?
I don't have a boat.
Are you gonna get a boat?
Maybe like a rowboat. I don't
Yeah.
know, but
Do you guys
yeah,
have a car there?
no car.
Okay, so
We're
you
probably
just
gonna
rented.
rent a car. But
Okay.
what's crazy about automobiles there is that they're so expensive. It's crazy. So I
Really?
was just looking on like a um I don't know, online like cars.com, but in Greece,
Yeah.
like a 1997, or sorry, a brand new Lexus RX. They're probably about, I don't know, $60,000 here in the US. They're over $110,000 there. Like something
Damn.
crazy. So we see a lot of old cars that are just working still. Like in America, it's like, oh, after a few years, the warranty's up. Let me trade in the car over and over again. Where they're, they last 400,000 miles. Like a lot of them are diesels, diesel engines. Usually last a little bit
Okay.
longer, but the cost of cars it's kind of crazy.
Well, and I think with vehicles, it's like everything else. The better you take care of it, the longer it's going to last. It's just like humans, right? If you're putting junk food in your body and drinking soda every day and, just eating like shit, you're not going to live as long. Now, back in the day, we all had grandparents who, smoked a carton of cigarettes a week and drank a fifth of Jack a week and they lived till they were 90. But the difference was what was in the food then compared to what's in the food now,
100%.
right?
Yes.
There's so much junk in the food nowadays. Like Nikki and I stopped the bread and the bad starches, crackers and all that kind of stuff about a month and a half, maybe 2 months now. We still every now and then, every now and then we'll have taco night and things like that. But the difference from doing that was very noticeable with the inflammation, with the weird little, I don't want to call it fat because it's not that, but just the inflammation. Like like I used to eat tortillas every single day. I'd have a tortilla burrito I'd make for breakfast and I'd have a burrito that I'd take to the office. I'd have Ritz crackers every single day of my life, Ritz or Triscuits because I love them,
Sure.
so when I stopped that, I dropped like 2 pounds, which was weird. I'm like, what is that coming from? And it was just from what was retained with it, with the inflammation and stuff. So it wasn't necessarily that I was losing weight per se, but it changed the construct of my body makeup because I'm not having all that bad enriched flour, starchy stuff that your body holds on to. And, it just lingers. So that was eye opening. And then the lack of inflammation with the neck because I had the degenerating vertebrae in my neck, so that pain pretty much subsided with maybe 2 or 3 episodes since then, one of which was really bad because we did a whole bunch of stuff in 4 days. But other than that, it's been night and day how that pain has left and because the inflammation's gone. So it's a
Have you had
trip with
withdrawals at all?
not kind of a little bit, yeah, because it's one of those things where like when we were up at the cabin, we had tortillas, right? So it's kind of like, I miss the vehicle. You make eggs, and I still don't eat swine, so I have eggs and turkey sausage and cheese, and it's like, it's fun to have it in a bowl, but at Nick's it's like, okay, I'm gonna have a burrito. So it was kind of nice to actually go back to having a burrito, but it wasn't like I was doing it twice a day every day, forever. It was, I had a burrito for breakfast one morning, and then a couple days later at night, I was like, oh, I'm gonna make a cheese crisp, which is, because it's there, right? At our house, we don't have it. But because it was in Nick's fridge, it's like, okay, game on. You went away again. You went away again. Louder, closer. Yeah, you're still something happened to your volume.
I don't
There you
know.
go. There you are. There you are.
It was July 4th weekend, Chris,
Yeah.
so you had a little
Yeah.
bit of a break for that
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. And when we were coming back, we went up Wednesday to avoid all the traffic.
Right.
And then
Smart.
we left Monday, right, to avoid the traffic. And then there was an accident somewhere by Camp Verde. So we turned around, went back to the cabin, and stayed for another 4 hours.
I know a lot of people that got stuck in that accident. It was just basically was a standstill. It's like,
Well, yeah. Yeah. And when I looked, I have a buddy, Mark Jeffrey, who ran the entire West Coast traffic for iHeartRadio. Like, you've probably heard his name. You probably don't remember it, but anytime you listen to an iHeart radio station, you hear this guy once an hour, every hour about traffic. And it's, I'm Mark Jeffrey with iHeartRadio. Eye on traffic. So he sent me an app. He's like, just check the app, man. And I pulled the app up, and there was two vehicles. One was a stalled vehicle on the right shoulder, and one was a disabled vehicle on the right shoulder. So neither one of them sounded like an accident. So I think it was a bunch of this.
yeah, rubbernecking. Like, oh, what's going on there? Let me slow down.
Rubbernecking, people. Stop it. Just drive your car.
Did
You're not gonna fix the problem by rubbernecking.
have you checked out the flex lanes? Have you done the flex lanes yet?
It was on the way back, we got the flex lane, which was
Yeah,
cool. So
it
that was
was
a
cool.
trip but the problem with that was people are still ignorant about that because it was three
Right.
lanes and it cut to two.
Yeah.
With a lady on my right side, I was on the furthest right lane. So there's 1, 2, 3. I was on the furthest right lane. Lady on the left didn't realize that I was merging, and we're in my truck. So then I had to like dramatically slow down because my truck would have destroyed her car and then the car next to her. So that was a little irritating because there was no sign saying merging lanes. It was
Yeah.
just
So you
you
just
had
all of a
three
sudden,
lanes, right? And then all of a sudden it's two. So that's a design flaw.
I know people complain about it. I just feel like it's better than it was, especially when it
Agreed.
go, when the flex lanes end and then all of a sudden it goes into 3 lanes going south down I-17. Like we never had those 3 lanes for a very long time.
Right.
You
No, I
know,
think it's great. I think it's
yeah,
great because
it took a
anything's going to
long
help
time. Yeah.
anything that's going to help traffic flow because everybody likes going up north, so that's a good thing.
But it's I call it my Xanax. Like I'm not
Yeah.
sure if you get
Yeah.
that way when you
And
see trees
yeah,
and nature. It just
yeah. And
calms your blood pressure.
right. And I actually thought about poking at you, see if you're up there, but I didn't realize you were back in town. Otherwise, I would have, because then you told me last night or Wednesday night, hey, I was up there.
Yeah, no, yeah, you're always welcome to come over,
We actually
especially
went.
you
We
and
went
Nikki.
to. We went to Lake Mary. Lower
Okay.
Lake Mary was empty, so we paddleboarded in Upper Lake Mary, which was like a very muddy river. And then we left there just for the hell of it. We drove to Mormon Lake, which was just. It's
Uh,
amazing how big that lake is and how empty it is.
it is.
It goes
And
on
like
forever.
it does. Imagine you bought, I don't know, in the 50s, a
Hmm.
lakefront property,
Right?
and then all of a sudden it's gone. It's like it's
Yeah.
not even. I mean, when it gets rain, it's like a little bit of marsh, but nothing like a lake. And
So
usually it's dry.
is it truly just dried up or did they dam it?
I think it's just dried up. I don't
Okay.
think they dammed it.
So even when the snow and all the massive snow flag stuff gets in the winter, it doesn't fill it up?
Like a little bit, but nothing.
Okay.
Like I wouldn't swim in there for sure. But
So
yeah,
that poses the question then, so Lower Lake Mary's dry, Mormon Lake's dry, but Upper Lake Mary has water. How's that happen?
I don't know the answer. Did
Why
you go to
not?
Do you go to Lake Odell in Munts Park? It's not
No,
a huge no.
no, we didn't
I've
go
seen
there.
people paddle boat there, but it's not a
We
big lake. I mean,
yeah.
it usually
No, we
dries
did
up
it
to you depending.
we did it that one year. Nick had that retreat up there
Yep,
with
the
a bunch of
retreat.
us. Yeah, but that was the only
Went
time I saw that. Like
okay.
whatever.
Yeah, when
What's up with
Chrissy's
the
husband.
what's what's up with the fire station in Munns Park?
Well, they passed, I think, whatever bond law or tax. So basically, they're building a brand new fire station. It was outdated. It was not.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, they leveled it and then they're staying off site somewhere in Munns Park, but they're going to have a
Yeah.
brand new fire station,
That's
which is
cool.
great because, fire safety as well as technology and, for our first responders, they deserve, the best of the best. And I'm happy that my tax dollars
Right?
some of them are going to
Yeah.
that because,
They need a
it's,
sheriff up there. They need a little
what was that?
like Andy. They need a sheriff up there, like a Andy and Barney Fife up there.
Like
They don't have any
Roscoe from
police.
Dukes of Hazzard, Roscoe
Yeah,
Peacoat
yeah.
Tree,
They need something like that. That would
or
be
Boss
great,
Hog.
man.
There
Yeah.
actually
Well, not
were.
Boss Hog. You don't want the corruption. But you Roscoe P. Coltrane.
Yeah. They actually had a sheriff. Usually he's there like patrolling the ATVs. Usually
Yes.
kids don't have helmets. They're riding
Yeah.
underage and they pull them over. So much like DUIs, even though people are drinking
Right.
while they're driving, which they
Right.
shouldn't, but more safety with
Safety. Yep.
ATVs and speeding, so, but the sheriff usually goes there and of course hides in a spot and pulls
Yeah.
people over. But, it gets really crowded. So you want to be safe, especially with kids.
Yeah, when we came back from the Mormon Lake travel, unbeknownst to us, like I put in the GPS the address, and then it gave us this alternate route.
Yeah.
It was all off road.
Yeah, you have to be really careful because a lot of people. I know you have a pickup
A
truck
truck,
which
yeah.
you can use, but people use like a Toyota Prius and they go
Mhm.
there and they pop a tire or you
Mhm.
get stuck. If it's muddy. Yeah, Google, like just like circling it back, Google can be your best friend in real
Yep,
estate and lending, and also can be your worst friend. So if you plug
absolutely.
in the address, and all of a sudden you're going off and like, where am I going?
Right.
It definitely. There was this news report, I think, yeah, it was in Munns Park where this girl was going to Sedona and she ordered an Uber and the Uber driver took her, I think, 89 and it in like, a Toyota Prius,
Yeah.
and it was like the scariest ride ever just because it was on edge and you need like a four-wheel drive vehicle. But this literally happened like a week or two ago and everyone was
Wow.
talking about it in the news
Wow.
report. So,
That's crazy.
yeah, don't always trust everything on the internet.
No, exactly, because not everything you see online is real. Just like Abraham Lincoln said yesterday, that 99% of what you see online is fake.
That's very good.
So, anything else you want to share with the viewers of the Moment with the Real Estate Guy before we wrap it up?
No, it's an honor to be on here, Chris. I've known you for several years. You're a stand-up person. You have tons of integrity. You're hardworking, and
Thank
trust me,
you.
I come across many real estate agents doing this for 25 years that some care a lot like you, and some just
Thank
care
you.
about the commission. So
Yeah.
my biggest thing that I always tell people is that yes, you know a real estate agent or a lender that's your mother, sisters, brothers, aunt, uncle.
Right.
First, usually you shouldn't get involved with a big transaction like this with family because unfortunately some things might go sideways.
Correct.
And then how much do they actually sell? Do they know the market? Are they in your best interest? So when you're buying a house, if you're not feeling good about this real estate agent or lender, pick another one or get a recommendation. But don't feel like you're stuck, even though maybe a family member recommended them, because this is really important. And you should feel comfortable picking someone like you, Chris, who has integrity, great negotiator, explains things. That's a lot more than half the people that I come across.
Yeah.
And you take pride in your work,
Sure.
and success and money follows hard work. And I always believe in
Right.
that.
And I champion all that right back at you. The other thing too that I will tell you, and I'm sure you can agree with this, it goes both ways. So not everybody that I've met and began working with that I stay working with, because sometimes personalities just clash.
Sure.
So I've probably 5 or 6 times in my 25 years been like, you know what, we're just not a fit. It's
Right.
just you need to go find somebody that's more your speed. And I've had the same thing with people that have worked with my lenders over the years. They just, for whatever reason, it's not a fit. So don't be afraid to have those conversations, because at the end of the day, it's supposed to be a fun transaction. Even though it's the biggest transaction of your life, you still need to enjoy it and enjoy the process, but learn while doing so. And if you can find a happy medium with people that can accomplish that, then all the better, right?
It's a
So
win-win.
how do people find Jeremy David Schachter? Plug yourself.
Sure. So my website's called Mortgage, Mortgage, loans, LOANS as in Sam, AZ, like
Yep.
Arizona.com.
Okay.
You can call me at 602-265-LOAN, LOAN.
Nice.
Yeah, I got that years ago. I'm never going to get rid of it.
Nice.
And then I'm on Instagram and Facebook and all that. So all my social media is there too, and I
Cool.
post videos and reels. And
Yep.
you can tell when someone enjoys their job like you do and I do. Where yeah, we have tough days, but
We do.
there's nothing better than helping out someone buying their home,
There's not. There's not.
especially
There's
when
not.
someone never thought they could. That's even
Yep.
better. Yeah.
Exactly. That's why I loved
Great.
first time home buyers. And it's just unfortunate the market and COVID and the pricing kind of pushed a lot of those away to the curb, because really that was the best thing about what I do for a living, is helping somebody who never thought they could achieve home ownership, and then calling them up and saying, "Hey," when you couldn't text, "Hey, your offer just got accepted," and you got to pull away because they're screaming so loud and yelling at there's a significant other. Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh my God! Or
Yeah,
see
maybe
the look.
crying and
Right. And
emotion.
see, right.
Yeah.
And then their kids are like, "Wait, what? We got a house, we got a yard." It's the
Yeah.
coolest thing.
Yeah.
And, so
It's definitely
yeah,
cool, like, when the kid's like, "Oh, that's gonna be my
yeah,
house or my room,
my
and,
room. Yep.
I'm gonna paint it purple or blue," and it's just a feeling that there's a reason why you're in this business
Yeah.
and here
Yeah.
to change lives and making
Right.
sure that they have the American dream, and it's not
Yep.
a cliche, everyone deserves it.
It's true, and not everybody looks at it that way, but everybody has the right to own their own home. It's just
Right.
American dream, whatever you want to call it. It's just everybody should have the chance to become a homeowner. I don't care who they are, what walks of life they're in. It's something that has pride, and it's an accomplishment that I've had people I sold houses to 25 years ago, Jeremy, they're still in it. I still talk to them. They're still in the house. They've sent me
Yeah.
their kids, the two separate kids. It was one of my first clients ever. She calls me up and, I don't know how many years ago. She's like, "Hey, Demar wants to buy a house." I'm like, "Oh my God."
You
Like
like the
he's
memories of
reached that age
child.
now. Like he's old enough to buy a house. And then sure enough, married, 3 kids. I'm like, damn, full
And
circle.
it's a testament to you that they remember you,
Yeah. Yeah.
and the first thing they think of is you when they're
Yeah.
ready to buy, so that's a
Well, that's
great
because when
testament.
you're ready to sell or buy, you call the real estate guy at 602-321, and we'll connect you with Jeremy and we'll get you dialed in. Until next time, he's Jeremy Schachter. I'm Chris Dunham. See you.
Thank you.
Thank you.